Welcome to Royle Subjects, your go-to podcast for anyone trying to navigate the ever-changing world of real estate.
Come with us as we explore topics that are always relevant, never boring, and designed with you in mind.
What's going on in the market? First week of March, here are a couple of numbers. So in the first 7 days of the month of March, 80 homes have hit the market.
Wow, in the county of Hastings.
In the county of Hastings, 80 homes. In the last 3 days, 43 homes. Okay? And then just today, 24 homes.
Mm-hmm. And I happen to know within our team, we have quite a few listings that are kind of like sitting in the, to be listed category.
Yes. Yeah. We've got a lot of things coming up. And I think that a lot of my clients right now are in that prep phase. Mm-hmm. They're working through their honey-do list, or they're just trying to get a couple ducks in a row. But I would say that it's safe to say that the spring market is here. I know the spring temperatures certainly are, which everyone is quite pleased with.
Had no complaints here.
No. Did you know, while we're talking about spring, I'll just hop back to this. In January, there were only 8 hours of sunlight recorded.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Don't quote me on that. Someone told me that.
We have not fact checked that
it was
information.
It was on the internet. It has to be real. I'm just kidding. But I really think that things are changing and things are turning. And I'm excited personally to see how the next couple of weeks and months will go, because I think a lot of people that have been waiting are now taking the opportunity to get back into the market, whether as a seller or a buyer. And one of the conversations that we've been having with our clients is, when should you get back into the market from either a seller or a buyer's perspective? Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit from the seller's perspective. Getting into the market as a seller, if you're listing in the next 30 days, a couple different considerations to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want to think about how many days on market is average, which, we're going to see a shift in that. So you're kind of playing with, fact-based guess. Work in that scenario, but also the average days to close, which, we usually say 60 days is a good safe bet. So if you're listing now, then let's say 3 months to sell between days on market. It could be a little less, it could be a little more, but as a general rule, 2 to 3 months is a pretty good timeline. Yeah,
because I think if you're accounting for, let's say, average 30 days on market plus a 30 to 60 or 90 day close, that's also bringing you to the end of the school year, which sometimes we see natural progression in that, where people want to tie things up for their move before the summer starts so that they can start the summer, after the kids have finished up school or whatever the case may be. So definitely keeping that in mind. And I think as a seller too, if you're selling in the next 30 days, I think you're taking advantage of the fact that there's still, while there are more homes coming to market, there's still not a ton. Right? And depending on what property type you have and what the features are of your home, you could be one of the only in a category that you're selling in, right? And we know that can make things more competitive because everybody wants what you have. So definitely something to keep in mind. But on the same side of the coin, if you're selling in the next 30 days, if you are in the situation where you have to go and buy, you're then also faced with that same challenge of there's not a ton of things to choose from. So depending on what you're looking to get out of and get into, that can shape your experience in the next couple of days.
Or just in general too, like when you're deciding when to list, there are basically 3 factors. What is your next move? Are you buying in the same market that you're selling in? Because if you're not, then you need to, either reach out to your realtor in this area and get connected with someone that you trust in that area via referral, or if you already know someone, great. But knowing the market that you're buying in and what's going on there, days on market, what's the inventory like, kind of helps you to decide whether you should buy or sell first. So that's one piece. The second piece is, what is more important to you? Is bottom dollar, do you need to get top dollar? Because there is a strategy associated with that. And if bottom dollar isn't it, and you say, you have kids and you want to buy in a specific school zone, so buying the house in that neighborhood is the top priority for you, then maybe you need to buy first and then you need to sell after, because if you get a little bit less because you didn't sell in the height of the market, that's okay with you because you got where you wanted to go. Yep.
Yeah, it all depends on what your priorities are, because I think in any big decision, it can shape the path that you take to get there. And this is where it's so important to kind of stay in your own lane, right? Because it's easy for us to look at what our friends or our colleagues are doing, but really important to just kind of have those own conversations, especially if you're buying as a couple or you're making these decisions as a family, taking into consideration the impact that those decisions can have on your family as a whole, and then talking to your realtor and just saying, hey, look, these are our objectives. What's the path that we should take to get there? Because that's essentially what our job is, to make, the house portion of your life the most uneventful, seamless, smooth transition. Yeah, sure. Sometimes it's, difficult and it's a little bumpy along the way, but by and large, the goal is to have as smooth of a transition as possible.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Well, then let's talk a bit about, if we're going to list 3 to 6 months from now. I think that hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, all the things, that the market is going to be looking a little bit different, primarily in part to changes in interest rates. Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about that a little bit later as well in a different episode. But from the seller's perspective, if you're listing in 3 to 6 months from now, you're going to be faced with some different circumstances where if there are lower interest rates, it's forecasted that more buyers will return to the market. And so as a seller, you're taking advantage of the increased number of buyers. So if you're priced appropriately, people are going to be interested. And it's the goal is to attract enough interest and essentially drive up the sale price because of that competition. Mm-hmm. But again, other side of the coin, if you're then transitioning as a buyer in that same market, you're facing that exact same competition. So again, it all depends on what your objectives are, but these are the things that we want to consider right now, whether you're listing in the next 30 days or in the next 3 to 6 months, because I do think that you're going to see a different market depending on when you list.
Well, and there is some time involved in getting a listing up. Obviously, it is possible to, have the conversation today and get listed tomorrow or 2 days from now. Yeah. However, most agents are going to have we call it a honey-do list of declutter this, downsize this, get yourself ready to move too, essentially. Mm-hmm. Not in the sense that there's boxes everywhere, but, do your spring cleaning, take things to Goodwill. Sometimes there's a little bit of staging involved in terms of taking down family photos. The goal of all these conversations is that your house is going to sell faster if the person walking through it as a buyer can picture themselves living there, mm-hmm. which is easier when it's a little bit decluttered and has a little bit less personalization to it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we're not saying that your family photos aren't gorgeous. We're just saying that sometimes that can take away from people picturing themselves in the home.
Yeah. Well, and we said something like this in an episode last year. Remember, your home doesn't have to be perfect. It needs to be presentable, right? And I think that it's really important to, if you know that a move is in your future, or even if you're kind of toying with the idea, that's where having these kind of conversations, it doesn't mean that you're committing to anything. It's just, hey, let's kind of bounce some ideas. Let's spitball. Let's see what could be the options. I met with folks a couple of weeks ago, actually. They said, hey, listen, we know that we're getting posted. We just don't know when, but we know it's coming. So we don't want to be waiting to the last minute. Can you talk us through the prep process? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's great because some people really don't mind, turning around within a couple of weeks and selling their home. Other people would appreciate a little bit more time. Mm-hmm. Maybe you work from home, or you've got kids or pets or all of the other things that fill your schedule on top of preparing for a move. And so I really think that right now, as a seller, preparation is key. Whether you're preparing for a move in 30 days, 3 to 6 months, or even at the end of this year, whatever the case may be, just having those conversations I think is really important because it can really help you and us, to be honest, feel a little bit more prepared and to be able to put our best foot forward.
If you're a seller, that's kind of the information we're trying to get across. From the buyer side of things, I've been working with buyers for a few months, and obviously inventory has been low. We've talked about that. And now we're seeing more houses come on the market. And I had a couple buyers recently go, you know what, I really love that house, but it's just outside what I'm able to afford. And I said, well, when did you speak with your mortgage professional? Well, it was 3-4 months ago. They went and had a conversation. The numbers are different now. Mm. So if you are a buyer and you've been kind of sitting on the sidelines with your pre-approval because there's nothing out there, it might be worth having another conversation to see where your pre-approval is at now. And again, touching base with your realtor to say, hey, I'm still looking. I wasn't seeing anything, or I got a little exhausted, took a break, but now is really the time to dive back into the market, because we said this in a previous episode, but buyers are lacing up their shoes. Mm-hmm. The running is going to start soon, and I would rather walk and then run if it was my choice.
Fair enough.
So that's my advice.
Hit refresh, folks. Hit refresh and see where the numbers land, because I think that what a treat, right, to find out that you've actually got a little bit more to work with. I think that's really exciting. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nice.
Absolutely. So I'm Danielle.
I'm Sarah.
And we can't wait to talk to you next week. If you have any questions regarding real estate, please feel free to reach out at our website, theroyalgroup.ca, or The Royle Group on any social media platforms.
See you around.